On January 10, 2026, Venezuela and the United States are reopening diplomatic talks after years of hostility. For years, the two countries clashed over leadership, sanctions, and human rights, leading to a complete break in 2019. Now, American officials have arrived in Caracas to meet with Venezuela's new government, signaling a possible shift toward cooperation. This moment marks a hopeful turn. Both sides are choosing diplomacy over conflict. The U.S. delegation, led by John McNamara, is exploring whether the two nations can work together again. Venezuela's new government has also expressed a desire for dialogue, a major change from the past. These talks could be the first step toward lifting sanctions and improving life for ordinary Venezuelans. Years of economic hardship and shortages have made this diplomatic opening especially significant. If successful, these talks could unlock new opportunities for Venezuela's struggling economy. The world is watching to see if this fragile process can lead to real change. For millions of Venezuelans, this is more than politics. It's about hope for a better future. The reopening of dialogue could mean access to food, medicine, and economic relief. Both governments are under pressure to show progress, but the path ahead is uncertain. The first meetings are just the beginning of what could be a long journey toward reconciliation. The stakes are high, and the outcome will affect not just leaders, but everyday people. This diplomatic effort is a chance to move beyond years of anger and mistrust. The world waits to see if words can succeed where conflict has failed. The story of U.S.-Venezuela relations is entering a new chapter, one that could reshape the future for both nations. To understand these talks, we need to look at the fate of Venezuela's former leader, Nicolas Maduro. Maduro's presidency was marked by controversy, economic collapse, and accusations of corruption and human rights abuses. The U.S. refused to recognize him, supporting opposition leader Juan Guaido and imposing harsh sanctions. Everything changed on January 3, 2026, when U.S. forces launched airstrikes in Venezuela to capture Maduro. The operation was swift and deadly. Over 100 people died, and Maduro and his wife were taken into U.S. custody. He now faces charges of narco-terrorism and drug trafficking in the United States. With Maduro gone, Venezuela was left without a clear leader, forcing the rapid formation of a new government. The U.S. had long insisted it would not negotiate with Maduro in power. His removal opened the door to diplomacy. President Trump canceled further military action as the new Venezuelan government began cooperating. The capture of Maduro marks a dramatic turning point, ending years of deadlock and enabling the current talks. The power vacuum created urgency for change and a new approach to U.S.-Venezuela relations. The world is watching to see if this bold move leads to stability or more turmoil. The removal of one leader has completely reset the dynamic between the two countries. With Maduro gone, Delcy Rodriguez, his former vice president, became Venezuela's interim leader. Sworn in during a national crisis, Rodriguez faces the daunting task of uniting a divided country and managing relations with the U.S. She condemned the U.S. military operation as illegal, but quickly signaled a willingness to pursue diplomacy. Her government invited U.S. envoys to Caracas, marking a shift from confrontation to negotiation. Rodriguez's leadership is being tested as she balances internal divisions and external pressures. She's launched an exploratory diplomatic process, cautiously seeking to rebuild ties with the U.S. Her call for talks is seen as a positive sign by Washington, but skepticism remains. Rodriguez's rise represents continuity with the past, but her diplomatic approach is a major change. The future of Venezuela now rests on her ability to navigate these challenges. She must prove she can stabilize the country and deliver real change. The world is watching to see if her leadership can bring peace and progress. The stakes for Venezuela's future have never been higher. The first real sign of progress is the movement of diplomats between the U.S. and Venezuela. American diplomats, led by John McNamara, have arrived in Caracas for the first time since 2019. Their mission: assess the situation and explore reopening the U.S. embassy. This visit is a cautious step toward restoring normal relations. Venezuela is responding in kind, sending its own diplomats to Washington for direct talks. These reciprocal visits show both sides are serious about rebuilding trust. Face-to-face meetings allow for honest discussion of tough issues, from sanctions to political reform. The reopening of embassies is a powerful symbol of renewed engagement. Diplomacy is about more than symbolism. It's about finding common ground after years of silence. These exchanges are planting the seeds of a new relationship. Progress will be slow, but the act of meeting is a vital first step. Both nations are taking risks, but the potential rewards are great. The world is watching as old adversaries try to become partners. Reopening embassies in Washington and Caracas is a top priority for both countries. Embassies are more than buildings, they're the heart of diplomatic relations and direct communication. The U.S. team in Caracas is evaluating security and the condition of their old embassy. The process will be gradual, starting with a small presence and expanding if conditions improve. For Venezuela, reopening its embassy in Washington is crucial for legitimacy and advocacy. Direct contact will help both sides address issues like sanctions and economic recovery. Restoring embassies signals a real commitment to moving past conflict. It's a careful, deliberate process, but one that could transform the relationship. Oil is at the center of renewed U.S. interest in Venezuela. Venezuela holds some of the world's largest oil reserves, and the U.S. was once its biggest customer. Sanctions and political turmoil halted this trade, but now the U.S. is eager to re-engage. President Trump has met with oil executives, urging them to prepare for major investments in Venezuela. U.S. companies want legal and economic guarantees before committing billions to rebuild the industry. The new Venezuelan government must create investor-friendly conditions to attract this support. The U.S. has already taken steps to control Venezuela's oil trade, including seizing tankers. With a new government, the focus is shifting from blocking oil sales to participating in them. The future of Venezuela's economy, and its relationship with the U.S., depends on how these oil talks unfold. Oil is both an opportunity and a challenge in the new era of diplomacy. While diplomats negotiate, Venezuela remains deeply divided. Protests have erupted in Caracas, with some demanding Maduro's release and denouncing U.S. intervention. The new government, seeking reconciliation, has begun releasing political prisoners jailed under Maduro. This gesture is seen as a step toward healing and building trust with the opposition. The country faces anger and hope, demonstrations on the streets, but also signs of progress. Interim President Rodriguez must balance these tensions while pursuing reform. The outcome of talks with the U.S. could bring stability and economic relief. The government's ability to manage internal divisions will shape Venezuela's future. The stakes are high as the nation stands at a crossroads. The world is closely watching events in Venezuela. The U.S. military action to capture Maduro drew sharp criticism, especially from Latin American countries and the United Nations. Many see it as a violation of Venezuela's sovereignty and international law. Critics argue that U.S. sanctions and intervention have hurt ordinary Venezuelans most. The U.S. now faces pressure to prove its intentions are about stability, not just oil. For Venezuela, international condemnation of the U.S. action offers some leverage, but rebuilding global relationships is essential. Rodriguez's diplomatic approach is winning cautious support abroad. The world's eyes remain fixed on how the U.S. and Venezuela navigate this new relationship. The start of diplomatic talks offers a rare chance for a new beginning. Years of conflict and mistrust won't be erased overnight, but dialogue is the first step toward peace. Success could mean lifting sanctions, economic recovery, and hope for millions of Venezuelans. Both sides must show patience, flexibility, and a real commitment to change. Venezuela's new government must prove its dedication to democracy and human rights. The U.S. must respect Venezuela's sovereignty and seek true partnership, not just resources. Building trust will take time, but the world is watching and hoping for progress. These talks are a reminder that even after bitter conflict, diplomacy is possible. The meetings in Caracas are just the beginning, but they could shape the future for both nations. If both sides stay the course, this could be a turning point for U.S.-Venezuela relations and a hopeful example for the world.